Hello guys, welcome to my channel Lucid Fanfic, and if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. It had been 3 days since the end of Sports Festival and many emotions were still running high, though for some their emotions are rather dark, as our intrepid trio resumed classes. Over the last 3 days they had been inundated with literally thousands of emails from across the globe. Every world government was sending contract requests, bribes, and in one instance the offer of a royal marriage, in order to obtain cold fusion energy for their countries. Needless to say, the trio had been busy, as not only had countries been sending contract requests, but other companies have been asking to invest. One such company was of course the Yaoyorozu conglomerate. Apparently Momo's parents needed no convincing to invest after seeing the festival. Heck, even David Shield himself made an announcement that I-Island itself would be investing in Futurism Inc. Even after the last 2 days, the trio still had several upcoming meetings to take care of involving UA's primary support company and civil services. But for right now, the trio were on their way to morning roll call, and the mood was somber for one reason: Ida. Over the last 2 days, the trio had caught the news and saw that Ingenium, Tensei Ida, their classmate's older brother and personal hero, had been attacked and crippled by the hero killer. The trio felt bad for their classmate's predicament, not only because his idol had been crippled, but because their extremists at present likely wasn't potent enough to heal the injured hero. Melissa's extremist simply wasn't on par with the comic or movie versions at this point. Sure, it could heal damaged organs, like with All Might, but crippled implied damage to the spine which the extremists simply couldn't heal at this position in its development. At this point, they simply hoped that they could assist their classmate in any way. 1A classroom. As the trio entered the classroom, they saw their classmate, sitting at his desk studious as ever, as if nothing had happened. However, before the trio could even ask if he was okay, Aizawa entered the room and instructed them to take their seats, as they had a special hero lesson today. Alright class, I hope you enjoyed your weekend. I didn't, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, today's going to be focused on a special hero informatics course. But first, we need to show you the offers you received as a result of the sports festival. Aizawa states in a bored tone of voice, as he actives the board showing everyone their offers, which in turn stunned the class. Now be aware that the number of offers received this year is highly unusual. First-year students rarely, if ever, get offers in the double digits to hundreds. However, your year, by contrast, has had offers similar to those of third-year students. Also, much like those third-year students, there is a large gap between the finalists and everyone else. He continues as the numbers speak for themselves. Midoriya, 5,000 plus 1,200. Hatsum, 5,000 plus 1,200. Shield, 5,000 plus 1,200. Todoroki, 3,000. Bakugo, 1,400. Uraraka, 670. Tenya, 296. Yaoyorozu, 272. Azui, 184. Kirishima, 92. Etc. Holy cow, way to wreck the curved genius trio. Kaminari cried out in shock at the revealed numbers. What are those additional side numbers next to the hero applications? Momo asked curiously. The number of support companies who sent requests. Remember, they're double majoring in both heroics and support. Aizawa replied dryly. Also, for those who haven't received offers, or if your offered internships cannot suit your needs, don't worry, you'll still get to go on internships. UA has partnered with 40 hero agencies to provide you with experience and training. Also, remember, you have until the end of theirs to pick your internships. Either give them to me, or your class rep, or vice rep. Eraserhead explained, causing those who had gotten close to no offers to sigh with relief. The reveal that even without an offer or getting an unfit offer they'd still go on internships caused a wave of relief amongst some of the class members who'd gotten lower numbers from heroes who didn't suit their needs. Such as Zero, who got only 12 offers with only 3 being tangentially related to his abilities, and Shinso, who got 1 offer and felt very disheartened. Now that you've been informed of your internship offers, now it's time for that special hero informatics course. Today, you'll be picking your hero names. Aizawa casually explained and let the end of his sentence hang in the air before the class exploded in cheers for about 10 seconds, whereupon Aizawa silenced them with his quirk. Now remember, these names are intended to be temporary, but you had better be extremely careful in choosing them, because if you may end up hating it later, and if that happens. Aizawa began to explain before being suddenly interrupted by the door being flung open. Or there'll be hell to pay, Midnight announced with a sing-song tone as she burst into the classroom, posing sensually as she always did, of course. As I am absolutely terrible at hero names, I was struggling with my own before Present Mike gave me mine. Therefore, I'm going to use the opportunity to take the nap I so desperately deserve, Aizawa states before cozying up into his sleeping bag and nodding off. Aizawa here is actually a prime example of why you need to be careful when choosing a hero name, especially for the heroics class, as media attention may be on you even now. The name you choose may be the name you're stuck with for your career, as well as the consequences. Midnight states with a dire tone of voice, causing many to immediately start reconsidering certain names. Unless you'd all like to hear the story of the former number 50 hero, Hyperman, or has he insisted everyone call him Ultra Alpha Omega Super Awesome Hyperman, and how he attempted to sue numerous sponsors for shortening his name to simply Hyperman? Midnight explains, getting several laughs out of the class from snorts to full-blown belly laughs at the size of a person's ego had be to think that that name was necessary or cool. Anyway, since then there have been rules for hero names. If you'd all kindly direct your attention to the board, Midnight states as she turns on the projector and the class pays attention. Hero name rules and regulations. 1. Your hero name can be no longer than 3 words, though it may include adverbs such as the or of. 2. Your hero name cannot allude to violent actions. Examples: murder, kill, massacre, pummeling, assault, etc. 3. Your hero name must be in the native language. 4. Your hero name cannot contain slurs of any nature, insults, allude to negative historical events, or references to memes. Recommendations: your hero name may refer to your abilities, skills, or goals. Usage of your real name is not recommended. Using a name similar to a current or past hero's name is unadvisable, as it may lead to confusion or hate mail for said hero's fans or a lawsuit from the hero in question. Classrooms. The class studied these rules intensely to ensure their hero names not only follow the rules, but pick a unique name they themselves felt embodied the heroes they wished to be, though some were upset at some of the rules, including a certain blonde. The name selection, however, got off to a rough start, with Mina's alien queen being shot down as it referenced the fictional matriarch of a genocidal species. In response to she asked for assistance from friends. Kirishima recommended Pink Horn, Eureka suggested Venus, Bakugo screamed, "Shut up, Pinky." Finally, Momo suggested amino acid, which Mina loved and got approved for. The following dozen students' names all went through with little issue. Kaminari went with Thunderstruck, after his favorite song by AD/DC, citing their copyright ran out. Sue chose a name she'd had since in her head since primary school, Froppy, which every loved. Zero chose Cellophane in reference to his abilities and costume. Shoji chose a portmanteau in the form of Tentacle, which Midnight really liked and approved. Achiko went with the cute name of Uravity, which the trio thought was rather clever. Aoyama asked Melissa for help as he initially had an interesting name, but couldn't use it due to the rules. Melissa recommended Shining Knight, in reference to his costume and propensity for flamboyancy. The Frenchman loved it and immediately decided to use it. Tokoyami's hero name was on brand for the emo bird, Tsukuyami, the Japanese god of the moon. Midnight approved it, but warned him that Shinto worshippers would likely take offense. Hagakure initially went with Invisible Woman, but was informed by Izuku that that was the name of a Marvel hero and was rather generic, so he suggested Prismatica, a name the Invisible heroine liked, and got approved. Ojiro was up next and simply requested Tail Man, which Midnight almost approved before Momo suggested Martial Tail instead, and the bland young man accepted it in place of his original name. Momo herself went Creati, a simple yet elegant name for the young woman. Though Melissa and May had suggested MS/Mistress Molecular, Momo stuck with her original idea. Bakugo, as usual, made a scene when he showed King Explosion Murder, a name that blatantly ignored one of the naming rules. He got into an argument with Midnight before she shut him up with threats of detention. She then gave him the name Blaster as a placeholder name. Kirishima was in a conundrum about his name. Initially, he wanted to use Red Riot in honor of his personal hero Crimson Riot, but after seeing the suggestions on the rules, he decided against it. He was at a lose until he remembered an old pre-Quirk manga he'd been reading on recommendation from Midoriya, and this chose the name Super Alloy Redshine in reference to one of the heroes in the manga. Jiro was initially just going to name herself after her Quirk earphone jack, until a bolt of inspiration hit her and instead chose Soundwave. She thought it was punk and liked it. Thankfully, it was approved. Shinso was torn between two names, Brainjacker and Mindtaker. He asked for the opinions of others around him as to which sounded better. After a short debate, he ended up choosing the second option. Ida had initially given his name Tenya, but Midnight thought it best he have an actual hero name, so she suggested Quicksliver, which he emotionlessly accepted even when Midoriya stated that the name was owned by a fictional hero. Todoroki has never actually thought about his hero name in his life, and thus asked to simply be given one. Midnight suggested Celsius, in reference to his ability to control both hot and cold. The young man accepted it and sat back down. Finally, the genius trio were up. Each of them had a unique reason to choosing their names. Melissa chose Mecha Lady in order to own her status as a cyborg, which initially, when she got her aug scared due to think others would think she was a freak, but with help from Izuku and Mei she accepted her new limbs. Mei chose Armory for her intense love of her babies and the fact that they constituted as an armory, a simple yet on-brand reason for the young heroine to be. Lastly, Izuku had initially thought about using Deku after Bakugo called him Deku, but chose to distance himself from it and its old wounds. So he chose a name that held significant weight to him, Monitor, after the multiversal guardians of the DC universe. I was initially going to call Izuku Deku, but that name only really makes sense if he was called Deku for his entire life. But in this FIC, he was only called Deku for about a year and has mostly forgotten about it. In essence, the name has no meaning to him. So I went with Monitor instead. After all the names were chosen, Midnight exited the classroom, and Aizawa simply told them to begin looking over their invitations for internships and to not make any noise before trying to fall asleep again, only to remember something and suddenly sit back up. Oh, also, Problem Trio, you three said you had an announcement to make. Do it quietly, Aizawa states before dropping, causing the trio to rise from their desks and stand behind the podium. All the costume requests you guys made are almost done, Izuku states, causing the class to get hyped up before Aizawa growls, and they clam up. What about 1BS costumes? Momo asked, curious about their sister class. Unfortunately, Power Loader said we could only do this class, as he put it. Leave some students for the rest of the class. So unfortunately, we weren't allowed access to their files. Melissa states with a depressed sigh. Mei merely pouted. Nizu's office a few hours later. After acquiring their hero names, the day's classes went smoothly. Nizu has been teaching the trio about how to effectively run their new company and how to avoid getting scammed or ripped off by other companies. Unfortunately, Melissa had to leave early to perform routine maintenance on her augmentations. So after lunch, it was only Izuku and Mei, with the dean relaxing in his chair. However, this serene calm was interrupted by a sudden call from the school's front desk. Hello. Why is he here? Okay, send him up, Nizu says into his phone as he looks at his two students. It appears that we've lost track of time, and I have a very important meeting now. The Dawn explains to the duo. What's it about, sir? Izuku asked curiously as Mei looks at the dean with interest. Mr. Yatsubashi of the Detnerant Corporation is here to renew his company's contract with UA. The dean explains, causing a look of deep thought to encompass Mei's face. Aren't they the morons that gave Yamamo a skimpy costume and Hagakure a set of gloves and boots despite Quirk fabrics existing? Also, didn't they give Oka a skin-tight suit and heels when she requested a suit like 13th's? And didn't they authorize Bakugo's clunky useless gauntlets? Mei asks as she lists off the compiles incompetence. I also heard that dozens of UA students have complained about the company's tight-fistedness on making modifications without their permission, even suing support students who did so, and even denying alterations based on false costs. Izuku states, remembering his research into the company. Yes, they are. You are both indeed correct, which is why I plan on terminating the contract. Nizu replies with a grin as there was a knock at the door. Please enter, Nizu states as the foot swings open. The man that walked through was a sight to behold. Standing just under 6 feet tall with spiked slicked-back saddle-brown hair, and a nose so pointy one would think he was part woodpecker, the man wore a black suit with white pinstripes, with a cadet blue undershirt along with a fern-green tie. He was holding a manila folder under his left arm. The man exuded superiority and confidence, with a slightly creepy smile. "Ah, Nizu, my good man, how are you this fine day?" The man, Rikiya Yatsubashi, asked the dean as he then notices the 2 students in the office and gives a light sneer. "I'm rather well, Mr. Yatsubashi. I assume you're here to reaffirm your company's contract with UA?" The dean replies with a haunting smile, as the light sneer towards his students did not go unnoticed. "Correct, if you just sign here," he replies, placing the folder on the dean desk and opening it. "Also, why are those 2 here?" He continues, pointing at Izuku and Mei. "They are here because I am personally teaching them, and as for this contact, I'm afraid I won't be signing it." Nizu replies, closing the folder and pushing it away. "May I ask why?" Yatsubashi asks with a cold tone as several small liver spots begin to dot his cranium. "Because your company has exhibited a high level of incompetency, laziness, and defective products. As such, I do not wish for my fine institution to be associated with it anymore." Nizu replies calmly, causing more liver spots to the CEO Detnerant's body. "Incompetency? What kind of incompetency?" the man asks with a tone of barely restrained anger. "Miss Hatsum, if you would kindly explain," Nizu states, gesturing to Mei. Following this, Mei proceeds to humiliate the CEO by pointing out every dumb thing his company did for the first years at UA for the last few years, reiterating many of the things she pointed out mere moments ago, along with some of Izuku's information. All the while, Yatsubashi got angrier and angrier. "So then, if you won't work with my company, then who will perform costume maintenance, make alterations, and perform equipment upkeep?" Yatsubashi asked with a condescending tone and smile. "Why, Futurism Incorporated, of course. They recently got an endorsement from the Yaoyorozu conglomerate and already have several production lines set up. They've already begun production of arc reactors for other countries, and they even have a meeting later this week with the Commissioner General of Japan about getting equipment." Nizu explains with a cheerful attitude, causing the CEO to grab his folder and storm out of the office, but not before giving both Izuku and Mei an icy glare. "Well, isn't he a pleasant man?" Izuku states with a huff after the CEO left the office. "I would be careful around him, young Midoriya. There's a reason Detnerant is the only big name in Japanese support equipment." Nizu explains. "Discount Doofenshmirtz there doesn't scare me. Besides, I have faith in our new company." Izuku states with confidence. "As do I, young Midoriya. Now let us resume our lesson on labor laws. I do believe young Shield will return soon," the dean states as he pulls out several pieces of paper. The next day, the following day had come and the class was excited. The genius trio had told them that their costumes were ready during morning hours, and now they were all sitting in heroics class waiting for the trio to bring their new stuff. "Oh man, I'm so hyped," Kaminari cried out in excitement. "Yeah, not only are we getting costume upgrades, but they're upgrades from Midori, Meli, and Mei." Mina exclaims in unchecked joy. "Will all you losers shut up? It's not like you're gonna get anything good, and even if you did, I'd still kick all your asses." Bakugo screamed in anger, earning him annoyed and pissed off looks from the entire class. "Bakugo, shut up. We all know you're pissed because you're not getting anything, and because you didn't ask, but don't try to ruin our day because you're upset and feel like throwing a tantrum," Shinso states with an annoyed look strewn across his face. "Listen here, why?" Bakugo began, but just as suddenly stopped, as his face went blank. "Be quiet for the next 10 minutes, Shinso says with a smug tone. "Thanks, Shinso, he can be so loud sometimes," Melissa expresses as she enters the room, earning a small blush from Shinso. "Meli, wait, were the other 2? Mina asks after expressing her excitement. "Back at the workshop." "Come on then," Melissa replies, gesturing for everyone to follow, causing the entire class to rise and follow her. Support course workshop. Class 1A was awestruck. The trio's personal workshop was a sight to behold. It had originally been a large storage facility that wasn't being used. The trio requested from the dean, who kindly accepted the proposal, and Power Loader, who swiftly agreed. They had renovated the place, and it was incredible. Wall-to-wall electronics, an enormous computer bank, a large table in the middle with a holographic display, and piles upon piles of comic books. This place is awesome, Mina cried out with many joining in her excitement. It looks like a lab from a sci-fi film, Ojiro states, utterly bewildered at what he was gazing upon. Ah, perfect, you're all here, Izuku states as he rises from a desk with a large computer on it. Midoriya, this place is rockin'. Where'd you get all this equipment? Jiro asks in her punk rock way. David Shield was kind enough to get us birthday presents every year, Izuku states with a straight face and a smile, to the stunned looks of his classmates. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? Melissa interjects. May, bring in the babies, Izuku shouts, causing the class to flinch in shock as a back door busts open, revealing May as she pushes out an enormous trolley covered in boxes. So who's first? May asks, causing hell to break loose. Me. No, me. Me first, please me. The class started crying out. One at a time, everyone. Okay, first. Overhauled costumes. Achiko, Yaoyorozu, Hagakure, Azui Todoroki, Shoji, and Tokoyami. Melissa states, reading out the names of everyone who requested an outright new outfit. She then gave them their new suits and poured them towards the changing rooms. Next up, weapons and equipment. Jiro, Ashido, Ida, Ojiro, Aoyama, Shiro, and Shinso. Melissa states, handing out several boxes of to the names individuals. Last will be those we made surgically equipped and genetic support gear, but we need to wait for everyone else to get back from changing. So let's go over the weapons and equipment first. Izuku states, causing the class to think what he meant by surgically equipped and genetic support gear. First up, Jiro, you requested a weapon to give you more range and stopping power. So what you have there is what we dubbed the Sonic Buster guitar. Izuku explains as Jiro opens her box to reveal an electric guitar with 2 jack ports for her ears, a trigger and handle on the bottom, a clip on the bottom end, and a cannon port at the end of it. Holy hell, this is so metal, Jiro cried out as she threw the guitar's strap over her shoulder. That guitar uses the resonant frequencies of sound in combination with condensed gas to create plasma, which can be blasted from the guitar's neck port. Go test it on the firing range, Izuku explained and encouraged, pointing towards the workshop's target range. After playing a quick melody on the guitar, Jiro squeezed the trigger, and a bolt of plasma fired from the port. BWEMMM. The shot left a basketball-sized hole on the concrete wall. Whoa, metal, Jiro states in disbelief. Up next, Ashido, you also asked for range, but you also asked for AoE, so we built you these dual canister pistols and sprayer grenades. Melissa states as Mina opens her box to reveal twin pistols with empty clear canisters on the top of each one where a slide would be, as well as 6 clear grenades with what looked like fire alarm sprayers on the tops. So cool. I'm guessing I supply the ammunition? Mina asks as she accidentally causes one of the canisters to pop out. She quickly caught it. Yup, those pistols can be single shot or a continuous spray. Whilst those grenades are multi-use, they spin like tops and spray out their contents, so be careful. Melissa explains and warns as Mina jogs over to the range to test the pistols. Ida, you simply asked for slimmer and lighter boots, so we made you some. The cooling system is more efficient and the heels have a springy mesh to help with push-off. We also made you a durable mesh undersheath for your costume. Go ahead, try them on, Melissa explains as Ida opens his box to find the boots and undersheath mesh bodysuit. Thank you, Shield-san. You're a credit to the entire industry, Ida states uncharacteristically calmly, as darker thoughts invade his mind. Thoughts of revenge. Tail, you asked for, well, a tail attachment. This baby is a multi-purpose Swiss Army knife of attachments. Try it on, and I'll explain. May explains to Ojiro as the bland boy equips the metal sheath. Give your tail a swing, May states. Upon doing so, the attachment sprouts 3 blades. Another swing causes it to become dull spiked Morningstar. Another swing turns it into a drill. With each swing, the attach changed shape. Incredible. I'm guessing it's nanotech, Ojiro exclaims with a smile. Yup, that baby uses nanotech to shapeshift and a speed measurement device to determine its shape, so I suggest extensive testing to make sure you get what you want, May explains in a giddy voice. Aoyama, you simply wanted an upgrade belt, so we made just that. It's got a function that lets you focus the beam like a torch, create a shotgun effect, and fire single shots of condensate particles. Melissa explains as Aoyama opens the box to reveal a new belt. Magnifique, Miss Shield. I hope it shall decrease my stomach's pain. The Frenchman exclaimed as he donned the belt. The belt won't help, but we do have plan to help with your stomach problems. Melissa states with a smile. Last but one. Zero, you requested a better helmet. So in your box is a superior helmet. It's made of a tougher material and the visor retracts instead of flipping upward. It also possesses a heads-up display. It has targeting, tracking, and aim prediction to help with swinging. Izuku explains, as Zero dons his new helmet excitedly. Finally, Shinso, you asked for a smaller voice changer, so we did just that. The device is like a mask now and is linked to an ARM computer which will let you choose which voice you want to emulate. Also, there's an extra surprise in there for you. Izuku states with a wide grin as Shinso opens his box. Within as of course the smaller voice changer and accompanying wrist computer, but there was also a lightsaber. When Shinso pulled it out, everyone got jealous of the boy and voiced it, but Shinso don't care. Thank you, Izuku. You're a great friend. Shinso states as he looked as though he was about to burst into tears. As everyone was enjoying their new gear, the change room doors suddenly flew open to reveal everyone who got a new costume. Ah, you guys are finally done changing. So what do you think of your babies? May asked the 7 who got new suits. Achiko had the most significant overhaul to her costume. To start, the main bodysuit was slightly puffier and looked like a Thiner 13 without the helmet. Her boots were no longer clunky heels, but were made up of 3 parts including knee pads, rubberized underfoot pads, and a set of elongated springs that extended from the tops of her calves to underneath her soles. She also bore wrist-mounted gauntlets that had 3 grappling hooks on each arm. Her helmet now encompasses her entire head and looked more sci-fi. Lastly, she had a large choker equipped to her neck that had a glow that bore her colors. Just imagine this image, that I definitely don't own, but the upper half and down to her knees are puffy like 13, but again Niner. This is so cool, I love it. Achiko explained as she jumped with joy. That baby's bodysuit is made of carbon nanotubes and has a layer of ballistic gel to soften impacts. The calf springs allow for a greater jump and impact reduction. The gauntlets can fire 3 independent grappling hooks over 50 meters, and the cable is very durable. That helmet has an oxygen recycler and will help keep track of your position in 3-dimensional space. Plus, its face shield is retractable, and lastly that choker interrupts the signal from your brain that tells your stomach to evacuate. So no more vomiting. Ichiro. May explained all in one breathe before taking a last second breathe at the end. In response, Eureka hugged the pinkette. Up next was Momo, who like Eureka had had an enormous overhaul. Her suit was now full body and shared the same color scheme. On her right wrist was a small touchscreen. Her heeled boots had been replaced with combat boots. The large book had been removed entirely along with her bulky skirt. Lastly, she had a red visor that attacked over her eyes. This costume is remarkable, but how am I meant to use my quirk now? It doesn't even have zips? Momo asked curiously. The suit itself is made up of a self-healing material, much like Midnight's, so you can tear it to access your skin and it'll heal itself. The wrist screen is computer with a database of atomic and molecular structures that's linked to the visor for easy access to usable structures. Lastly, the visor itself. Not only does it have a heads-up display for your molecular structures, but it can scan other materials and acquire new ones due future usage. Izuku explains, giving a rundown of the suit's abilities. In response, Momo thanked the trio with bounce in her voice. Next up was Shoji. His new costume had very few modifications, but they are significant. His spandex had been replaced with layered armor. His boots were now knee-high and had metal greaves. Lastly, her had a medium-sized backpack. The new armor is a lightweight metal alloy that allows for flexibility and stability. The boots allow for greater stability, and the backpack is a nanotech breeder that can give you access to tools and weapons, such as blades, hammers, screwdrivers, torches, etc. Melissa explained as Shoji pulled out a large warhammer. Sue was up next, and her suit had very few changes. Her goggles were more compact, but still looked like frog eyes. She had what looked like a boiler on her back. Lastly, her suit was infused with carbon nanotubes for durability. Sue, your new suit has been augmented with carbon nanotubes to allow for both durability and speed. Your goggles are still frog-themed like you asked, but now they're more compact, have night vision, heat vision, and a zoom function. Lastly, that boiler will help prevent you going torpor in the cold. Izuku explained, getting a blunt thank you from the frog girl. Next to appear was Todoroki, who's requested a whole new costume, and the trio delivered. His old white costume had been replaced with a blue and gray boiler suit accented with gold that featured shoulder, knee, and elbow pads, and was temperature-proof. His boots had collapsible skates on them. Lastly, he donned a strange helmet with a large pitch-black visor that had a temperature gauge that kept track of his internal temperature. The helmet looks like this. Peppermint, your newest baby, is completely temperature-proof thanks to added Nomex, and also augmented with carbon nanotubes. Those boots have collapsible skates built into them that active by clicking your heels together, and lastly, that helmet is laced with hafnium for extreme temperatures and keeps track of your own temperature. Ichiro, May explained, again in a single breath, getting a quote thank you from the young man who didn't seem to care being called Peppermint. Last but one, Tokoyami exited the changing room, donning a completely new costume. His pitch-black cloak had been replaced with what looked like light combat gear for a soldier. It had slight armor plates on the upper chest and shoulders. He was wearing combat dark gray trouser. He had 2 gauntlets that each had a screen on them. He was wearing red tinkered goggles and combat boots. Lastly, he had a metal device strapped to his back. Tokoyami, you requested the ability to fly. If you tap the red button on your right gauntlet, then the device on your back will sprout wings. It's also got a repulsor for liftoff and speed. The other gauntlet controls a scout drone built into the backpack we dubbed Blackwing. It's got a camera capable of recording and reply. The rest of the costume is primarily made for aerodynamics, and the goggles are for wing resistance, and they possess night vision. Lastly, the inside of your costume is pitch black, so dark shadow and recharge. Izuku explains as the young Birdman actives and marvels at his new wings, and dark shadow really like Blackwing, calling it cute. He looks like this. Hey, where's Toru? Mina asked, having not seen her friend exit the chasing room, only for a hand to grasp her shoulder. Boo! Toru cries into Mina's ear, causing the pink girl scream in shock. Toru, don't do that. Wait, why are you naked right now? Mina exclaims as she tries to calm her racing heart. I'm not. Check this out. Toru states as suddenly a costume appears midair. The costume was skin-tight and augmented with carbon nanotubes. The entire thing covered the girl from neck to toe, even her arms were covered in the outfit. Speaking of with the outfit was a combination of oranges, grays and blacks with hits of dark blue. It had a wrist-mounted switch that Toru was holding as the outfit turned visible. I don't own this image, and ignore the person wearing it. Hagakure. This stealth suit was created using your DNA as a basis. I used it to create a retro-reflection field I call Chameleon Tech. But not only can it turn invisible with the flip of a switch, but it also suppresses your heat, noise, and smell to make you virtually undetectable. It's infused with carbon nanotubes for durability. Also, the invisibility field can be expanded to encompass others, though I should warn you, it's only temporary, as it can easily burn out the battery. Izuku explains, as Hagakure thanks him and begins playing with it. So now that all the equipment and suits have been given out and everyone is here, we have a few more pieces. Remember this surgically equipped and genetic support gear. Well, if you'd all follow me. Melissa explains as the class follows her into a spectate room with several pods inside large enough to fit humans. Midoriya, what are those? Momo asks nervously. These are Melissa's body alteration pods. I'll let her explain them. Izuku states, handing the floor to Melissa. These pods will allow me to make alterations to a person's body using a serum I call Extremis, a virus I create that lets me alter genes, heal wounds, though I should warn it cannot heal wounds of certain severities as of currently, and it makes cyber augmentation easier. Melissa explains to the now dumbfounded class who has long thought they couldn't be surprised by the trio at this point. Wait, is that how you guys stuck those reactors in your chests? Kaminari asked. Yup, all thanks to Melly here. May interjected as she hugs the blonde girl. So it's safe? Jiro asked nervously. Yes, however, in the event of a potential problem, you'll have to sign waivers that should be arriving now. Melissa explains as the door opens to reveal Nizu, Aizawa, and Inko. Hey mom, you finalized the waivers. Izuku says to the surprise of his classmates to meeting the young genius's mother. Yes, sweetie, Nizu, Aizawa, and I have finished them, and they're ready to be signed. Inko replies with a beaming smile, showing where Midoriya gets his from. Remember, students, don't feel pressured to sign the waivers. You're well within your rights to refuse them. Aizawa states dryly. So wait, who's even getting this stuff? Ojiro asks curiously. Hagakure and Aoyama will get the Gene Fixer Serum, Kirishima and Ojiro will be getting the Super Serum, and Kaminari will be getting these. Melissa explains as she reveals a mechanical spine and head implant, as the class start theorizing on what each serum did. He gets one of these on each side of his head. Again, I don't want this image. This is his new spine. I don't own this image. What the heck are those for? Kaminari cries in shock. The head implants will negate your quirk's recoil and prevent stupidity, and the spine will give you more control over your electrical output and manipulation. Melissa explains with enthusiasm. So, you guys gonna sign? May asks, hoping they say yes. If that serum does what I'm hoping it does, then I'm in. Hagakure states as she signs her waiver. Same here. Aoyama states as he too signs. Anything to be less dull. Ojiro states as he signs. Anything to become even more manly. Kirishima cries out as he too signs. A chance to control my power and not turn stupid. Where do I sign? Kaminari states as he signs his waiver. Right then, please disrobe your top halves and enter the chambers. Oh, and Hagakure, I would suggest a bra. Melissa explains, as the four of them enter the pods with help from Izuku. Okay, here goes nothing. Melissa states, as she begins pushing buttons. The picks then closed and several vials of a strange substance enters each pod. The entire class, including Bakugo, watch on in rapt interest. Okay, this is going to take a few minutes. Melissa says as she continues pushing buttons and sequences. After about 10 minutes of everyone looking at the pods in anticipation, finally Melissa pushed one final button and the pods opened. There's 5 pods, and replace Peggy with the previously mentioned 5. You guys okay? Melissa asks, as several class members rush to help their friends. So how do we know the serums worked? A girl with pale spring green hair, pale blue eyes, and pale skin asks as she exits the pod, to the surprise of everyone there. What's wrong, guys? You look like you've seen a ghost. Toru asks curiously. Momo then steps forward and creates a mirror and hands it to the now visible girl. Hagakure, you're visible. Momo states as she opens and hands over the mirror. For the first time in 14 years, Toru saw her face and cried. I don't own this image. Sniff. Is this really me? I'm beautiful. Sniff. Thank you, you three. Thank you so much. I can finally see myself. Toru states as cries tears of joy as Mina, Jiro, and Achiko hug the girl as support. We didn't just make you visible. We added a sort of biological on-off switch to your genome. So you should be able to turn invisible at will now. Melissa explains as Toru hugs her in gratitude. What about moi? Aoyama asks with hope in his voice. Test your quirk at the firing range. Izuku states confidently. And so the Frenchman fired his beam at a target and felt no pain. He too began to cry tears of joy. Merci. Tu has changed ma vie comment pouche jameti remercier? Thank you. You've changed my life, how can I ever repay you? Aoyama states in all French, only being understood by the dean, the trio, and Momo. Just don't tell anyone about the extremist process. We don't want any corporate spies stealing it. Melissa replies with a smile, to which Aoyama agreed. Hey, what about me and Ojiro? What do the super serum do to us? Kirishima asked, noticing his muscles weren't any bigger. The super serum basically gives you a higher physical limit. In essence, your current limitations have been removed and replaced with significantly higher ones, as well as a minor healing factor. But remember, you still have to work for your strength. Melissa explains, getting a massive smile from the redhead and her bland classmate. Manly as hell. I'm gonna hit gym as soon as possible. You coming with Ojibro? Kirishima exclaims with a testosterone-fueled tone. Sure, gonna be training on the internships, so might as well get a head start. The tailed young man replies. Oh, Kaminari, I would suggest immediately trading your quirk in tandem with your need implants. Also tell us if you experience and discomfort. Melissa states before Kaminari can even active his quirk. Yeah, okay, thanks for this. The weight in my spine feels a bit weird, but other than that I feel fine. The electricity user states with a smile. What a wonderful success. I can't wait to see the results of the augmentations. The dean says as the class begin leaving the workshop. Thanks for letting us do this, sir. And mom, thanks for verifying the waivers. Izuku states as he hugs his mom, and the other two bow to the dean in respect. You're welcome, sweetie. Inko replies with a smile. You're welcome, my students. Now that you're finished with this, you three should probably start preparing for your meeting with the Commission General in a week. Nizu explains. Wait, they need to pick out either a hero of support company to work with. How are they supposed to prepare for this meeting? Aizawa asks bluntly with a glare. Oh, didn't I mention? They're taking their internships with me. The dean replies with a sadistic grin. I want a raise. Aizawa demands in response, getting a maniacal laugh out of the dean that scares everyone. Later in the classroom, that worthless trio gave those extras cool shit and upgraded their lame quirks, but not mine. How dare they? Bakugo thought to himself in anger as he was sifting through his requests. And they somehow got more requests than me. I'm then next #1 hero, and yet so many of these worthless heroes didn't pick me. They should have been honored to have seen me in action. Bakugo thinks to himself to try and rationalize his lower numbers. I need to do something that'll get me recognized as the destined hero that I am. Something big, something no other hero has done. He continued to think to himself as he began checking his phone, only to suddenly get a news alert. He checked, and it revealed that some loser hero named Ingenium, he'd never heard of, had been crippled by the hero Kilker in the Hosu area, which caused a massive grin to stretch across the young man's face. That'll work, he thought to himself, as a plan begins to brew inside his head. So, this was the end of Part 7 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.